I'm Jeff Gordon, and you're watching Speed.
Your NASCAR weekend on Speed begins now. Presented by The Expendables. In theaters August 13th.
Speed welcomes you to a beautiful part of New York, the Finger Lakes region. Time for NASCAR Sprint Cup practice. We're road course racing again at the Watkins Glen racetrack in beautiful Watkins Glen, New York. So glad you're with us for coverage of a practice that should last about an hour and 50 minutes. Weather could not be prettier. 73 degrees, a beautiful breeze blowing. Chance of just an occasional pop-up shower, but for the most part, just a beautiful day here in Watkins Glen, New York. Steve Burns, Larry McReynolds, Jeff Hammond, our cameraman Bubba Dean says get in tight. Jeff and I right there. How you like that? All right, we're going to be road course racing for the second and final time of 2010. But Jeff, a road course is not a road course. Watkins Glen is very different from Sonoma.
How do you want to put it, Steve? It's science of complexity. I mean, there's simple, there's complex, and then there's really complex. I mean, and this is what this place is all about.
He's been reading a book.
That's right. I've been trying to educate myself and broaden my horizon, you might say. 7-course road course here, turns. But the thing is, Steve, when you look at this course, look how it's laid out. It's very fast. We came from Infineon, a very technical racetrack. This place, yeah, it's got some technical issues with it, but the main thing is it happens so much quicker. And with those new tires they've got, Goodyear brought a new tire here and made some changes here in this race course to make things a lot better and a lot safer. But it's going to be a fast practice, and then you're going to see a lot of guys having to get reorientated on what it's going to take to get around here today.
Larry, this is the 25th consecutive year we've been racing here once a year. There are some changes to the racetrack, but also some changes to the schedule.
It's a very interesting schedule. You know, we have 2-day race weekends and we have 3-day race weekends. We have impound weekends like we have at Daytona and Talladega. And on the 2-day race weekends where we normally race on Saturday, Friday is a full day. You have all the practice, you have qualifying that afternoon, and then you race the next day. Little different schedule here because of the doubleheader tomorrow with the Rolex Grand Am Series and the Nationwide Series. These guys in the Cup cars, as this practice starts, they get 3.5 hours of practice. But they don't have to worry about qualifying today. They're going to have to worry about it through the night because they come here tomorrow, Steve, and these guys get 1 lap on the racetrack. It's their lap they'll be qualifying, and then they get her ready to race on Sunday. This is one of those race weekends because of that. I would like my driver if he was one of those 13 guys doing double duty, because the good news is he'll qualify his Nationwide Series car first, actually get about 4 or 5 laps that style of qualifying, get him in a rhythm before he has to qualify this Cup car.
Well, Tony Stewart's always ready to race here at Watkins Glen. Jeff Gordon is the all-time winner in terms of road course wins in NASCAR racing. However, you look at Tony Stewart's numbers, he's the man here at Watkins Glen. Jeff Gordon has 4 wins. Tony Stewart has 5, Jeff Hammond.
He leads. He got 5. Yeah, 5 is exactly right. But the key thing about Tony is in the last 6 races, he's either finished first or second. And for these guys who are trying to put a little more pad in that chase points, it's a great place for this team to be coming to not only maybe get their first win of the year, but to add to that point separation to 12.
Well, not only is he on a roll here at Watkins Glen, he's on a roll, period. Because when he finished second at Pocono last week, that was his 5th consecutive top 10 finish. You know, when we finished our NASCAR on Fox broadcast, I think there was the question on our mind, is this team even in a position to make the chase? They have come to life here of late.
But he even said that on our trackside show, the first Pocono back in June. He said, yeah, we're okay in the points, but we're not running that well.
And I talked to Darian Grubb, his crew chief, actually the other night, and Darian had told me this back in June. They went to Milwaukee and did a test in early June, about right after the Charlotte race weeks. It's a place we can go test now because NASCAR doesn't race there anymore. And he said they hit on something with the front-end geometry that actually has helped them at every racetrack they've been to here in the summer months. See Darian Grubb on top there, just in front of the score monitor, looking at the same score monitor that we look at.
Darian Grubb, the far right. 3 team members atop the transporter. Boy, weather could not be prettier here in Watkins Glen, New York. See the wind blowing, trees behind Darian.
The forecast is great for all weekend long.
Oh, trouble for Jimmy Johnson.
Wow.
Just 4.5 minutes into practice. Can't tell how much damage there is to that Lowe's Chevrolet.
Trying to see if he actually did get into that Arm 4 barrier.
Caution has not been displayed as of yet.
At least the left side doesn't look that bad, Larry. Just looking at the shape of the front fender, it doesn't look too shabby right there. So maybe he got lucky.
Just got up high down in the turn 5 area.
Oh, he's going to hit it.
Yeah, he is.
Not bad. Not bad. Just brushed it. He got very lucky right there.
This is the same car that he won at Infineon back in June. Actually, the same car that he raced both road course races here. And there you see the red flag. I think they've decided to go check on Mr. Johnson.
It's not the way you want to start the weekend out.
Not at all.
Caution out for Jimmy Johnson. We'll be back to Watkins Glen right after this.
Could switching to Geico really save you 15% or more on car insurance? Can football announcer Andres Cantor make any sport exciting?
Ha sido una partida intensa hoy. Jadrowski está pensando. Veamos qué va a hacer. Moverá la reina, moverá el caballo. ¡Qué tensión! ¡Viene! ¡Gol!
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
Do you want some Fiber One honey clusters?
Yeah. You must really care about him.
What?
You gave him fiber.
This tastes way too good to be fiber.
They're delicious crunchy clusters with sweet honey and half a day's worth of fiber.
You care about my fiber?
Not really.
Fiber One.
No, not now.
Nothing's worse than a dead battery. And nothing's more reliable than a Duralast battery. Duralast, proven tough, only at AutoZone.
At TireRack.com, we stock an amazing amount of tires, nearly 1 million tires. But we don't just stock them, we test them. And we post user reviews so you can find which tires are the best for you and your car. All this at a price that won't slow you down. And that's 1 in a million, or in most cases, 4 in a million. The biggest selection of tires. One more way Tire Rack is revolutionizing the way you buy tires. TireRack.com. Research, buy, deliver, install.
Some athletic uniforms are designed to wick away moisture. Other uniforms are made to wick away 500-degree flames.
Still under caution, 4.5 minutes in to practice here at Watkins Glen. Jimmy Johnson spins. It doesn't seem like a lot of damage to his Lowe's Chevrolet. However, Wendy Venturini is in the garage and can give us the first-hand report.
Yes, Steve, it was only one lap for Jimmy Johnson. He said on the radio that he just spun it and looped it around. If we take a close look at the damage that Jimmy Johnson has on the left front nose, and the splitter braces are really is where the problem is. Chad Knaus, the crew chief, has called for the Porta Power. The 48 team is going to be hard at work at fitting those 2 splitter braces, actually 3 splitter braces, as you can see, and some cosmetic damage to the nose, but it looks like it's easily fixable, and the splitter doesn't have too much damage. Let's head over to Bob Dillner.
Well, Wendy, so far so good for Tony Stewart, 17th quick after only 1 lap on the racetrack. But Tony Stewart, like the guys in the booth we're talking about, loves coming to Watkins Glen. He only has 1 finish outside the top 11 here in 11 races with 5 victories. And right now, the only complaint that Tony Stewart had about this race car after 1 lap on the racetrack is that they actually have to take the cool box out of the car after he gets a little fresh air here. But Tony Stewart, very good at this racetrack, and he loves this race car, the same race car that he won with here at the Glen last year, guys.
And Bob, we were just looking at Tony Stewart come out of the inner loop into that turn 5 area, and you're making a right-hand corner out of the inner loop or the bus stop, and right as you enter this long sweeping right-hand corner, which is what we call turn 5, that's where Jimmy Johnson got loose, got high, and spun out. But Jeff, it probably all started right there at the exit of the bus stop.
Yeah, right there at the exit, we saw Tony Stewart. He kind of chopped the corner right there. But Steve, to me, what's impressive about this year compared to a year ago is the pavement work they've done just off to the, I guess you saw, to the infield side of the racetrack. That's something that's different. They've gotten rid of the gravel pit and put a runoff area right there, a paved area with a safer barrier on the inside.
Yeah, the biggest thing I think that a lot of the guys said in the garage area this morning that doing away with a lot of this gravel pit or kitty litter we used to call it is the track's going to be a lot more forgiving. We probably won't see near as many cautions during practice or in the race. This is about the only kitty litter that we have around this racetrack. This is at the exit of turn 6. But look what it looked like the last time we were here. You see Dale Earnhardt Jr., A.J. Allmendinger. See how close it started to the racetrack? And when that happens right there, you've got a caution because those cars cannot drive back out of there.
Plus the fact, Larry, in my opinion, I know it helps to slow the car down, but even that doesn't slow it down enough because the brakes don't work. You know, it don't dig like you'd like for it to slow the car down.
Well, the one thing that they've done here is the same thing that we've been saying ever since the race at Pocono. We still have grass, but they've done away with a lot of the grass that gets cars in trouble.
That's right. And Steve, here's a guy I got a chance to talk to down in the garage here early this morning, and that was Boris Said in that 83 car. And as you like to say, I laughed at him. He's in the race. Guess what? The Doberman is off his leash.
A Doberman with a grenade in his mouth. He's spectacular. Those were his words.
There's a classic case of a car that got off the bus stop, the inner loop, Regan Smith in a 78 car, and kept going. If you go back to before that,
you'd had to call a caution.
We had a caution right now trying to dig him out of there. So kudos to Watkins Glen and the people at ISC for the changes and improvements they've made here.
And, you know, Regan's a good little road racer, and I think it's going to explain what I'm getting ready to say is that you can get yourself in trouble here so quick. A lot of these guys, they've been on simulators. Very few of them did any kind of testing. A couple teams went to Road Atlanta and or VIR, but the majority of them, they haven't been on a road course since Infineon. So driver orientation, early part of this practice, I'm not going to be one bit surprised to see guys missing their corners, overdriving, you know, any number of things until they get themselves a little bit into that rhythm that Larry was talking about earlier.
Guys, I'd say we'll be talking about this car all weekend long. Marcos Ambrose at the 47 car. Of course, we know the run he had back at Infineon in June. And when you look at his record at Watkins Glen, he's won the last 2 Nationwide Series races here. He finished 3rd here 2 years ago. He finished 2nd here a year ago. And oh, by the way, Jeff talked about a new tire here. Marcos Ambrose, along with Jeff Gordon and Jeff Burton, did the tire test here back in June.
I think he has a little bit of advantage, Steve.
Well, I made the comment when we found out about that. I said, that's not hardly fair, is it? You give the best road racer in the circuit the chance to test tires.
And I'm going to tell you what, Jeff Gordon paid him a huge compliment. You know, we were talking about Jeff Gordon a while ago. When you look at his record here at Watkins Glen of having 4 wins, actually during that tire test, Marcos and Jeff Gordon swapped cars. And Jeff Gordon said, you know what? I know why that 47 car is fast. They got a good car. But Ambrose is pretty fast around this racetrack.
Right now, he is 4th overall. Greg Biffle is the quickest in a Ford. He's followed by Juan Pablo Montoya and Jeff Burton in the 31, and then Ambrose, Paul Menard, 5th overall in the 98.
All right, if you see Ambrose, he missed the bus stop. He missed the inner loop. No harm, no foul in practice. NASCAR would rather you do that than get in trouble. But in the race, if you do that, what you have to do is come to a complete stop. In any positions you would gain by doing that, you have to fall back in line where you were basically running when you entered the bus stop.
Exactly.
You know, it's amazing. Greg Biffle sitting here the fastest in practice. When you've got momentum, it pretty much rides you no matter where you go. When we look at that 16 car, guys, a month ago, I think we were all questioning, is this car even going to make the chase? I think we're looking at it today and saying, these guys are going to be championship contenders.
They definitely got a huge, huge benefit out of what happened last weekend. Probably over the last 3 weeks. They've been good at Chicago. They were good at Indianapolis, and then they go to Pocono, and they put it together. But to me, the tale of all tales is listening to the first part of that race when he was so upset with that race car, and so much had to be done to get it to where he could be competitive. But Greg Irwin, he didn't get discouraged. They kept working on it. And they, in the end, they made a critical call that basically was decisive as far as getting them out front and giving him an opportunity to get to victory lane.
That broke a long, long dry spell for Greg Biffle. 64 races between wins, and Biffle's one of those guys. You know, we go to different kinds of racetracks. Biffle's a guy you almost every week factor in the equation as being a race contender?
There's no question, and you know he's giving you 100% every lap that he makes. But, yeah, you talk about the streak that it ended for Greg Biffle. How about for Roush Fenway? They had not won since
Hang on to it,
Brad Keselowski in that 12 car off the racetrack. But once again, asphalt, you put it in first gear and you drive away. This is entering the bus stop. The inner loop gets loose. A year ago, we'd be under our third caution of the day.
And the other thing is those guys will be digging all that gravel out beneath that car. Big kudos to the racetrack, making it better for the competitors and the teams.
Steve, this producer's determined to go to break. We'll talk about the streaks that ended when we come back.
Tonight, NASCAR challenges the Glen, and we're there as Trevor Bayne, Brendan Gaughan, and Steve Wallace stop by NASCAR trackside. Live coverage from Watkins Glen continues tonight at 7 Eastern with NASCAR trackside.
Only on Speed.
Most people would probably agree that the General is not your average insurance company, especially when it comes to saving you money on your auto insurance. And we're willing to go to just about any length to prove it. Starting with a super fast online quote, you'll get a low rate, a low monthly payment, and a down payment as low as $59. At the General, average is just not our style.
For the best car insurance rates online, go to the General and save some time.
The Kardashians are in Miami, bitches!
Get ready for a sizzling, sexy, scandalous getaway.
I love Miami!
Trouble has landed.
You're gonna blame me for that?
Wouldn't I be the wrong person to with?
Shut up!
Courtney and Chloe Take Miami, a super new season, Sundays in June. Because if it's Sunday, you know you're watching E!
Brought to you locally by Outside Lands at Golden Gate Park in San Francisco. Music, food, wine, art. August 14th and 15th. Tickets on sale now.
When it comes to important decisions, we choose wisely, and that's why people in Brentwood choose their hometown dealer, Bill Brandt Ford. With unbeatable quality, more fuel-efficient models than ever, exclusive hands-free sync technologies, and hybrid models that can go 700 miles on a single tank of gas. Brentwood is choosing Bill Brandt Ford, and your hometown dealer is the right choice for terrific savings and great financing on all your favorite Ford models.
My choice is Bill Brandt Ford in Brentwood.
Jamie McMurray talking with his crew. Kevin Mannion to the left. Been a great year for Jamie. Winning the Daytona 500 and the Brickyard 400 in the same year. He's not a bad road racer either.
Oh, he's probably run better at Infineon than he's run here, but what a humbling sport that it is. You know, he wins the Brickyard 400, and what a dismal weekend they had last week at Pocono.
Yeah.
Qualified 25th and finished 22nd. He now finds himself talking about McMurray and the one team, 172 points out of the top 12.
We've talked about how good Jeff Gordon is, the all-time leader in terms of wins in NASCAR history on a road course. Let's go around this racetrack with Jeff Gordon.
Well, and I think we can also talk about the shift points. Right through here, he's already went from first to second to third gear. This is up through the S's, and as you come right out of the tail end of the S's, you grab high gear down this long back straightaway. And this is where we'll come to the inner loop, to the bus stop. You'll go third gear, second gear, hard braking through the inner loop, and then you'll run second gear all the way through this hard right-hander that we kind of call the carousel. You'll stay in second gear. And then right up this short chute where he had that hard crash with Sam Hornish a year ago, he's going to grab third gear just for a little bit. And then as we head toward turn 6, he'll go all the way back down to second gear. Heavy braking again. A lot of heavy braking at the high-speed racetrack. The little short chute over to turn 7. You're still in second gear. And this will take you back onto that front stretch.
Jeff, you were talking about it as we came on the air. So what, as a driver, what is the biggest difference between this place and Sonoma out in California?
Speed. It's all about the speed here. I mean, when you go back and you can compare it to Infineon, there are a lot of slope parts of that racetrack, and there's a lot of blind corners. There's some blind corners here also, but this racetrack is all about speed. And when you miss your mark here a little bit, you've already seen guys when they get offline a little bit, they're going to spin off the course. I mean, that's the key, keeping it between these blue arm code barriers around the racetrack.
Let's go back to the garage and Bob Dillner.
And guys, Jamie McMurray is trying to do exactly that. Keep it between the markers and go as fast as he can. 12 quick right now, but the problem that Jamie McMurray is having is he can't steer the car around the corners like he wants. And what that means is he believes he has a slow steering box. He's got a 12-to-1 ratio steering box, and he thinks that steering box needs to be a little quicker because around some of these bigger corners, it's almost as if he needs to grab another handful of wheel to get his number one car around the corners. So in this little situation right now, they got the car in the garage here. You see McMurray about to climb back in it. They are going to change the steering box in this car to help with Jamie McMurray getting around this racetrack.
You know, Jeff, back when we first started coming here in the late 80s, early 90s, a 12-to-1 box was probably the right steering box, but there's no question that these guys today, with the way these cars drive, the front-end settings, a lot of them are running 10-to-1s, maybe even as quick as 8-to-1 at a place like Watkins Glen.
And the other thing, when you go and you look at Jamie and his career, where did he start out? Racing go-karts. He likes that quick feel, and particularly on places like this where you've really got to work the car. I can understand why they may need to increase that. So it'll be interesting to see whether or not, once they make that change, can he find some speed and get that number one car up as far as the charts are concerned.
Here's a guy, David Rudeman, in the 00 car. We know that he's had this race circled as we get closer and closer to the chase, not because he was looking forward to it,
yeah,
but to tell you how much David Rudeman is trying to improve his road racing is he came up here last week before Pocono. You can't test here. He spent 2 days just driving around this place in simply a rental car, just trying to find all the nuances. He is trying hard, and to be quite honest, he actually had a decent day at Infineon back in June, finished 20th. That's something that's been a far cry from David Rudeman in his road racing.
Well, right now he's 16th. I mean, that's a big improvement because normally we find him on the other side of the scoring type pylon because he just has not been that much of a road racer, but he's done much better, Bob. He's getting better each and every time he goes out.
He is, but right now he's having a little problem with that 00 car around this racetrack, and it has to do with his brakes. And basically what happens is when he steps on the brakes and they release, the pucks in the brake for the brake pads, they kind of go back a little bit more than he'd like. So they're going to need to make an adjustment for David Rudeman because it's almost as if he has to pump his brake to get the brake pads a little tighter to where he wants it just about on the rotor. So right now David Rudeman just kind of playing around. He's getting to like this road course a little bit better, but he needs those brakes to be just a little bit better as well.
And Bob, we're watching him down on pit road right now, and you can see not only the tire specialist for him here on the driver's side working on air pressure. We also saw a guy in a blue shirt. He works with the brake company. He's telling what the rotor temperatures are, and they'll get those guys to come in and help them try to figure out what this problem is. That's one of the benefits of having a manufacturer represented here at the racetrack.
Well, A.J. Allmendinger takes the 43 Ford on the pit road. He was in the news this week. He has signed a contract extension with Richard Petty Motorsports. And some of the other news this week, just one race for the Atlanta Motor Speedway beginning next year. They will continue to race on Labor Day weekend. Report also that Chicagoland will be the first race in the chase next season. And as we talked about the improvements to this racetrack here at Watkins Glen.
Well, of course, when we talk about our schedule, and we continue to hear that definitely our schedule is going to look significantly different in 2011, the Chicagoland race doesn't really raise a big eyebrow other than the fact that it's now going to be in the chase, so it raises a question what race will not be in the chase. But now that question, when you look at the Atlanta date, as we see Jeff Burton off the racetrack, I think that's down there in the Turn 5 area. But when you talk about Atlanta, the question would be, I think we're going to see the same thing here with Jeff Burton that probably well before Jimmy Johnson got in trouble. He got bad loose in the middle of the inner loop, but he's able to drive out of there. But the question is raised about Atlanta. Where is that race going? I think there's a press conference this coming week at Kentucky Motor Speedway that will answer that question.
Why don't you go ahead and say it?
I'm just saying, there's a press conference, and Darrell will be there. He's still mad because his statue's so small.
Oh, he needs a bigger statue.
Can utility be a poster? Can utility keep you up at night, dreaming? Can utility put thoughts in your head? Depends on what you mean by utility. The new Cayenne and Cayenne S Hybrid, born from Porsche Intelligent Performance to be lighter, more agile, more efficient. More Porsche than ever.
When my doctor told me that my chronic bronchitis was COPD, I started managing it every day. I like to volunteer, hit the courts, and explore new places. I'm breathing better with Spiriva.
Spiriva is the only once-daily inhaled maintenance treatment for both forms of COPD, which includes chronic bronchitis and emphysema.
I take it every day. It keeps my airways open to help me breathe better all day long.
Spiriva does not replace fast-acting inhalers for sudden symptoms. Stop taking Spiriva and call your doctor right away if your breathing suddenly worsens, your throat or tongue swells, you get hives, have vision changes or eye pain, or have problems passing urine. Tell your doctor if you have glaucoma, problems passing urine, or an enlarged prostate, as these may worsen with Spiriva. Also discuss the medicines you take, even eye drops. Side effects include dry mouth, constipation, and trouble passing urine.
Now I'm managing my chronic bronchitis every day.
Ask your doctor if once daily Spiriva is right for you.
The energy boost for your feet. With ZigTech, I get more trained, less pain.
Jeff Gordon celebrating a birthday this week. He turned 39 on Wednesday. Chad Canals turned 39 yesterday. And Alan Gustafson, the crew chief for Mark Martin, was 35. So happy birthday to all those guys. Wendy has an update on Jeff Gordon.
Well, Jeff Gordon is in the garage area right now. He's P10 in this practice session. He feels pretty good about the race car. The car's just changing some different setups. But a story that everyone's going to be following on the 24 this weekend is Scott Pruitt, who's on standby for Jeff Gordon. Of course, he and his wife Ingrid are due any day with their baby. But Scott Pruitt in the garage and is suited up in a DuPont uniform. I just spoke with him. He said he will be getting in this practice session because this is the best time of the weekend to do it early on while they're trying to get through some changes right now. But Scott Pruitt is just patiently waiting. He had the headset on, listening to everything in the practice session. Now moving on to the 18 of Kyle Busch, who has made 2 laps in this practice session so far. Although he's P21 on the grid, guys, he is really pleased with his race car. Now, crew chief Dave Rogers is making some adjustments to his race car, putting some different setups that they had discussed before coming into today's practice session at Watkins Glen. So when you hear Kyle Busch is in a good mood, you know that's a good thing, although the speed is not quite there yet.
Also want to wish Kyle's brother Kurt a happy birthday. He was 32 this week.
Do you remember your 30s? Any
Barely.
of them? Okay,
Barely.
just wanted to check.
I really don't remember my 20s.
Hammond doesn't even remember his 40s.
No, it was a while ago.
Oh, that really hurts coming from you.
This is Ryan Newman in the 39 car. Now, that was pretty good through the inner loop of the bus stop.
Whoa. You were getting ready to brag on him.
I was, because actually, based on his last trip through the inner loop, that was a lot prettier till he got to the late exit. Boy, I don't remember as many guys getting in trouble on the exit of that inner loop as we've already seen in this practice session.
Well, Larry, let's take a look here. We're going to have an opportunity to see what he did the first time through. This is the previous lap. Look here. Slides through, misses the corner, off through the grass. He said, well, I can do better than that. Watch.
Well, he did good till he got late exit. We're working on it. We're getting better. You know, one thing that they've also done here, Steve and Jeff, a lot of the places, aside from get rid of the kitty litter, get rid of the grass, a lot of asphalt, I know a lot of the corners, especially on the exit, that the rumble strips, that they're a lot taller. They're a lot more aggressive. I know when you look back at turn 7 right there, I know those rumble strips as you come on the front stretch is a lot taller. So that obviously will upset a race car if you get on top of those too much.
Ryan Newman here, coming in here this weekend, 15th in points. He's 138 behind 12th place Clint Boyer, as we watch Kurt Busch muscle his way up through the S's.
Kurt got a road course win here in the Nationwide Series back in 2006. Pretty milestone weekend for Kurt Busch. This is his 350th career NASCAR Sprint Cup Series start here this weekend.
And Bob, doing a pretty interesting stat about Kurt Busch. He's led 123 laps on road courses, the most laps led by a driver without a road course win.
Well, Kurt Busch likes the road courses, and so does Ryan Newman, but maybe not today. And the reason why he's having some trouble out there, he's very calm, cool, and collected when he came over the radio after getting a little loopsy out there. Basically said, the car is just wicked loose right now, guys. So Tony Gibson and that team have a lot of work to do to that race car, because right now it's not to Ryan's liking.
Yeah, and I'm sitting here trying to think about all the differences from a year ago. And I was talking to Booty Barker this morning, my buddy from NASCAR Performance, and like Jeff pointed out, as we see Jimmy Johnson, the 48 car, back on track, we do have a different tire here. It's a grippier tire. The other thing, not that it should be a big deal because it's almost not even a topic anymore, but we are running the rear spoiler here for the first time versus the wing a year ago.
You've got to believe there's got to be some kind of common denominator when you see as many race cars and top race car drivers like Jimmy Johnson, Ryan Newman, Jeff Burton, Brad Keselowski. All these guys have been around backwards off course. You know, you expect to see a little bit, but I was really thinking it wouldn't be these guys.
Well, let me ask the blind obvious, because I'm not a mechanic or a crew chief, and you guys were. You talked about a new tire with more grip. Could it be too much grip?
But it should be the same overall, front and rear, right,
yeah,
Jeff?
but at the same time, it may give you a sense of false security, too, and all of a sudden when you exceed that grip level,
that's what I'm
all
saying.
of a sudden your car gets away from you. You might say, this thing feels good, and you try to pick the throttle up too quick, and all of a sudden you step over the edge.
Because this is a very tricky part of the racetrack. You enter that bus stop at that inner loop at a very high rate of speed, and you're turning right, left, right, and then back right again. I mean, you're doing a whole lot in a short period of time.
'52 Sprint Cup Series wins for Jimmy Johnson. Look like Marcus Ambrose got off track. He's mowing the grass again. There's a lot of grass mowers here.
I'm Roger Curtis, president of Michigan International Speedway and a fellow race fan. There's only so much time and money to do the things you really love in life. That's why we're making sure your time at the track this summer is better than ever. MIS is dedicated to delivering exciting NASCAR racing and a great escape with friends and family. You've earned your fun this summer, and MIS is committed to making sure you get it. We'll see you at the track. Michigan International Speedway. It's your speed.
Juicy Johnsonville sausage, made with only premium cuts of pork since 1945. Johnsonville, sausage is all we do.
I thought I had a pretty sweet deal. Relax, get a tan, maybe write the occasional traffic ticket. Oh, it's still pretty sunny. That just makes the body smell worse.
The Glades, a new original drama. Sundays at 10.
Come celebrate the Autumn Moon Festival on Saturday, September 11th between 10 a.m. and 5 p.m. on Irving Street between 22nd and 25th Avenues in the Sunset District of San Francisco. Enjoy a fun day of lion dances, Shaolin martial arts, magic, arts and crafts, ethnic performances, delicious food, bargain shopping, kids' activities, free gifts, and much more. For details, visit autumnmoonfestival.org.
Join us on Trackside tonight. We're going to shine the spotlight on some of the Nationwide Series stars and rising stars. Brendan Gaughan, Steve Wallace, and 19-year-old Trevor Bayne. Stop by Trackside from here in the Glen, 7 Eastern, only on Speed.
Tell you what, Trevor Bayne, talking about exceeding stars, 3 consecutive poles in the Nationwide Series. In fact, he just surpassed Jeff Gordon as the youngest Nationwide Series driver to sit on 3 consecutive poles, not to mention 3 consecutive top 5 finishes for that young man.
Now, Steve, when we went to break, the 47 car was running off the course.
In the same
and he come
spot.
right back from breaking. He's run off the course in the same spot.
And it's the same spot for everybody. And we do have a common denominator, and it's the inner loop or the bus stop.
And he tire tested up here. So did Jeff Burton. And so did Jeff Gordon.
I tell you, the one thing that I think may be a little bit different is it was quite a bit cooler up here, I think, when they did the tire test. A lot of the guys that were up here did talk about how cool it was.
You know, I wonder, and we didn't even think about this, or we haven't mentioned it yet, and Larry, I'll bring this out. Do you think some of these guys are getting a little bit fooled because we had the Grand Am cars were on, the Rolex cars were on the racetrack prior to this practice session for about an hour and a half this morning? Maybe these guys are having to work some of that rubber off. Maybe it's kind of throwing them a curve.
It'll be anxious to see if on into this practice session if we're seeing some of the same things.
This is from Marcus Ambrose.
So you're just carrying so much speed halfway through that bus stop. You're to the point where your car's loose, but you can't turn the wheel, and you end up driving straight like we just saw right there.
I'm going to pose a question to you. I just went back and had our
wow, he didn't even attempt
Casey.
it.
He missed the corner right there. He said, I'm going to go straight. No penalty today, as Larry talked about. But I'm also wondering, I had Jimmy check the practice speeds from a year ago. And practice speeds from a year ago were considerably faster than what they are at this practice session right now. 124 miles an hour by Kurt Busch and Denny Hamlin. And we're running around now about a 121.5 miles an hour. So a considerable drop in speed for a tire that supposedly is grippier.
Yeah.
But if memory serves me right, we might have to do a little diving into this. It was quite a bit cooler when we were here a year ago. The track itself had a lot more grip. Speaking of Casey Kane, looking at Casey Kane, but I think that's a deceiving number. In fact, they just took him off. He went to the top of the charts as the fastest. The reason, he drove through the inner loop, so then they took it back off. But right now, Denny Hamlin in the 11 is the fastest.
I heard a quote, for actually a soundbite from Denny Hamlin on Race Hub this week, and he said, we don't even really concentrate on road course racing, meaning they don't do anything extra to prepare for road course races. He's pretty good at it.
He's very good at it. You know, ever since the first time I think we saw him down in Mexico, and he won that race that day, you know, we were all kind of surprised how quickly he adapted to that road course itself, and he's been very good at a lot of other points of his career as far as road racing is concerned, but not every driver is like that. I mean, for whatever reason, you're either good at road racing or you're not good, and the guys who figure it out, like Casey Kane, because up to his win at Infineon, everybody's kind of scratching their head saying, he just doesn't get it.
Yeah, in fact, before that win, Casey Kane had never had a top 10 finish.
Right.
He said, I like road course racing, I just don't have very good finishes.
And I think his record at Infineon is a little better than his record here. In fact, he has set on the last two poles there at Infineon. But we're watching Kyle Busch in the 18 car. Wendy was talking about him a while ago. Back to Casey Kane quickly. A few weeks ago, I kind of felt like that was a team that maybe was going to be able to reach out and make this chase. After a so-so run at Indy 2 weeks ago, 19th at Pocono, they find themselves 168 points out of the top 12. I think we've got a 14 to 15 man race, even though we got 5 races to go, including this weekend, a 14 to 15 team race for those 12 spots.
Yeah, Larry, Casey Kane has lost 48 points in the last 2 races. We will take a look at the points when we come back to Watkins Glen. Dave Rogers watching his driver, Kyle Busch, get around the road course. Stay with us here at Watkins Glen on Speed.
Tonight, NASCAR challenges the Glen, and we're there as Trevor Bayne, Brendan Gaughan, and Steve Wallace stop by NASCAR Trackside. Live coverage from Watkins Glen continues tonight at 7 Eastern with NASCAR Trackside.
Only on Speed.
Introducing the Skechers Resistance Runner. Like running barefoot in the sand. Skechers Resistance Runner.
I came up with this mobile art gallery to bring art to the people. I strongly believe that there's art in every single person. Sharing art is the highest calling for me. But without my health, I wouldn't be able to do anything.
To keep doing what you love, keep your heart healthy. Cheerios can help. The whole grain oats can help lower cholesterol.
This is what makes me happy, so I'd probably do this until the wheels fall off.
It's simple. Love your heart so you can do what you love. What do you love? See how Cheerios can help you do it.
Introducing the Skechers Resistance Runner. Like running barefoot in the sand. Skechers Resistance Runner.
Precision handling, high performance braking, smooth and comfortable ride. Tame the road, hand-cooked tires.
You've been sick? You lost weight?
Whatever weight I lost, you found, pal.
Lots of movies have a hero. This movie has them all.
It's good to have friends.
The Expendables. Rated R. In theaters August 13th.
Introducing the Skechers Resistance Runner. Like running barefoot in the sand. Skechers Resistance Runner.
Welcome to the center of the universe. Eye of the sheet metal storm. A V8 vortex of soul-stirring thunder and blistering speed. Where pistons pound out the fury of 35,000 horses in unison with 100,000 beating hearts. A world where adrenaline is the fuel of choice. And everything else is just a game.
Let's take a look at the top 12 in points after 21 races. As Larry said, 5 races left to determine who gets in the chase. To the far right, you see the number of wins they have. That is important because they get 10 bonus points for every win heading into the chase. That's how they'll be seated once the chase starts.
But, Steve, I think what we need to take a look at the guys that are trying to get into this thing. You see Clint Boyer right now. He's 12th, but look at Mark Martin, just 34 points out of that coveted 12th position. What I want to start trying to keep an eye up on is we talk about guys that are kind of like in jeopardy versus the guys that are trying to get in. Let's look at their practices from last week at Pocono. First practice, Carl Edwards, he was 13th. Greg Biffle, eventual winner, he was 10th. But look on down through here from first practice to last practice as far as happy hour and where they started at but where they ended up. The better guys are still performing. And the key one has to be Mark Martin. He finished 7th. That's the kind of guy you got to watch out for, because if he keeps putting together top 10 finishes and all of a sudden he happens to come to a racetrack like this racetrack where he's won at and puts a big win up on the win column, he could easily displace Clint Boyer out of that 12th position.
I tell you that Clint Boyer caught my eye on that too, because you saw he was actually pretty good in both of those Saturday practices. Right. He qualified 40th, but we know why.
Yeah.
He about wrecked in turn 3. He spent most of his race just trying to get to that 15th finishing position. But speaking of Pocono, Bob, I think you're with a guy that probably glad to get out of there.
The hardest recorded hit in the history of NASCAR for Elliott Sadler. I'm just glad that I'm standing here talking to you this week, because holy smokes, you get a chance this week to take a look at that and really realize how much of an impact it was.
Yeah, I didn't really realize how hard a hit it was until I actually saw the replay, because I didn't realize that the wall made that sharp V-turn that it did. So, I talked to NASCAR some this week. They're going to change the wall and stuff like that in Pocono, but can't thank my guys enough for building me a safe race car. Of course, NASCAR does a good job of holding themselves and all the race teams accountable for building safe equipment. So it was definitely a rough ride, but I was glad to be able to walk home and get back and see my wife and my little boy. And plus, we had a great day on Saturday, too. So glad to be here today.
I tell you what, his little boy is darn cute. You got to check him out. That's his Twitter picture on Twitter right now. Wendy?
Well, thank you, Bob. Now, Jeff Gordon's not really happy with the race car, although he's just walking out of the garage area. He had a few words with crew chief Steve Letarte and also with driver Scott Pruitt. He's 15th in this practice session. He said there is something wrong with this race car. It is not the tire. The car, not the tires. The car has no brakes is what his comment was on the radio. So Jeff Gordon has climbed out of the race car, and the crew's going to make some changes. Steve Letarte trying to fix the problem that is making Jeff Gordon so uncomfortable in the race car. Now, when it comes to Kevin Harvick, Harvick, who's positioned right next to him in the garage area. Kevin Harvick is 7th in this practice session. He said he's very happy with the handling, but the braking went away. He doesn't know if it's the bump stop package or what it is in the corners. It's hurting him when he's trying to brake. It didn't slow down as good as he would like to, so that is what the 29 crew is working on Kevin Harvick's car.
Well, there's two issues here. It's called the inner loop and bus stop, and brakes, it sounds like, seems to be the two common things, Jeff.
Yeah, I was going to say, all of a sudden, I can't remember when we come to a racetrack in recent, times, either whether it's here or Martinsville, I've heard this many people complaining about what their brakes either are not doing or what they want them to do. And, with Kevin's group, that's a brand new race car that they broke out here at Watkins Glen for him this weekend. So it's, it's a good start, but at the same time, you got to get it to stop.
Robbie Gordon, 22nd overall. He has 3 NASCAR Sprint Cup Series wins, one coming here. That was back in 2003.
And we know he put a full court press on for this race. He was not even in Pocono last weekend because he spent most of the latter part of last week testing this car at a road course down at Road Atlanta. You look back at the run that he had in Infineon, not to shortcut any of the other racetracks for Robbie Gordon Motorsports, but there's 2 places he has a chance to win, and that was at Infineon or here at Watkins Glen this weekend.
In fact, his last win coming here in 2003. Well, there's that picture of young Wyatt Sadler. That is a cute young man indeed. His mom was pretty.
He got to go to Victory Lane last week at the truck race.
That's right.
Extreme temperatures, hot, fiery battles, and heated tempers.
Just drove me off the road, so I paid it back.
The Rolex Sports Car Series, live from Watkins Glen, Saturday at 6 p.m. Eastern, only on Speed.
So, your seat good? Get the mirrors all adjusted, you can see everything okay? Just stay off the freeways, all right? I don't want you going out on those yet. Just leave your phone in your purse. I don't want you texting.
Daddy, okay?
Okay. There you go. Be careful.
Thanks, Dad.
Call me, but not while you're driving. We knew this day was coming. That's why we bought a Subaru.
Tonight, NASCAR challenges the Glen, and we're there as Trevor Bain, Brendan Gunn, and Steve Wallace stop by NASCAR Trackside. Live coverage from Watkins Glen continues tonight at 7 Eastern with NASCAR Trackside.
Only on Speed.
I'm Roger Teeter.
There's a time to be a Southern gentleman.
Detective Watkins.
Shucks. And a time to be a cop.
Turn around, hands on top of your head.
Have mercy.
TNT Tuesdays. A new kind of detective has arrived.
Welcome to Memphis.
Memphis Beat. All new Tuesdays at 10 on TNT. We know drama.
Sponsored locally by Heald College. Visit www.trainheald.com for information about career training in the legal field.
Xfinity has something great for every budget, like internet. You can download way faster than dial-up, plus get the top-rated Norton Security Suite at no extra charge. So sign up today and download your favorite music and photos in a flash. Hi.
Add Xfinity Internet right now at this great everyday low price. Call 1-800-XFINITY today.
This week by road racer extraordinaire Boris Said.
You can believe right now he's 4th quickest in his practice session. And, we kind of touched on it. We take a look here. We're riding along on board with him. Look at the foot cams. We come down here into the bus stop. Let's watch what he does. Pumps those brakes off the throttle. Not using the clutch to downshift. The speed shifting right there.
Jeff, look at the size of that brake pedal return spring they've got on that thing. They're going to make sure when he lays his foot up there, unless he really depresses it, that he's not generating brakes.
Oh, no, that's for sure. They definitely got it pulled back up there. And that big old foot of his, again, he is one of the premier road racers in the world.
Interesting. Here's a nugget for you, Larry Mack. 10th Sprint Cup Series race for Boris Said here at the Glen. 10th different team.
Wow. But when you come here with Boris Said, and I think he's going to come in the garage area. Here's something I read about Boris Said this weekend as well. One thing I want to mention, he's doing triple duty here this weekend. The man today alone has 8.5 hours of practice time. But Boris, how would you like to set a car up for a race like this, Jeff? In 2005, Boris won a road course race, the 24 Hours of Nürburgring over in Europe. The track is 15.5 miles long with over 100+ turns. Wonder if your driver could describe all those turns to you about if it's push or loose.
And he also said when you race, there's like over 300 cars on the track.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Bob Dillner.
Well, Boris said this is pretty funny because you don't expect to hear this from Boris said. His first run out, he was 11th quick, and he said, guys, I was holding back a little bit. And they said, why are you holding back? Go for it. He said, I wanted to get comfortable inside this race car. So that time was a lot better. He really attacked the racetrack. But he said the car right now is a little bit sloppy, a little bit sloshy around the corners. So they're going to go to work on this machine, maybe change a couple of springs is what I've heard is being discussed right now. But Boris said getting acclimated inside this race car.
Well, hey, Bob, the timing and scoring monitor backs that up. He was 22nd a minute ago, 4th right now.
Of course, when we were at the last road course race back at Infineon, Boris finished 8th driving that 26 car. There's Denny Hamlin, who was fastest just a little bit ago, but now Greg Biffle has went back on top. Denny is second quickest. He's run a total of 12 laps so far in this practice session.
You guys were talking about, Boris said, 10 different times here, 10 different teams.
Yep.
There used to be an old Western out called Have Gun Will Travel with Richard Boone. In Boris's case, it's Have Steering Wheel Will Travel. Anywhere he wants to go, man, he just kind of fits right in.
And not only that, he's tutored a lot of Cup drivers.
Exactly.
I don't know the exact number, but it's there's a lot. So it's Biffle, Hamlin, Montoya, Boris said, and Ron Fellows driving for Tommy Baldwin Racing this weekend. Ron Fellows, another road racing ace, 5th overall.
That kind of came together a little bit late in the deal. I was kind of surprised that somebody hadn't picked up Ron Fellows, but it's good to see him driving for Tommy Baldwin this weekend.
Yeah, I think what we'll see in this practice sessions is, for the most part, everyone just working on long race runs. I would say probably toward the latter part of that next practice is when they'll get serious and start making some practice qualifying runs because, Jeff, like I mentioned, 1 lap tomorrow for these guys, and that's your qualifying lap.
Well, the good thing about it, we talked about Ron Fellows driving for Tommy Baldwin. Well, guess what? He's 5th quickest right now in that 36 car.
And a 3-time winner here in the Nationwide Series.
On a day when the defending champ was knocked out,
Hornaday sideways in the tunnel turn.
Elliott Sadler survived the carnage and captured the first trucks race in Pocono. Saturday, the NASCAR Camping World Truck Series muscles into Music City, and we're there for door-to-door, wheel-to-wheel combat on the concrete. The NASCAR Camping World Truck Series, live from Nashville, Saturday at 8:30 Eastern, presented by Toyota, only on Speed.
I want a home run. He wants an out. Only one of us will win. So I do everything I can to make sure it's me.
Winning takes intense preparation. Start with Wheaties Fuel, a bold honey cinnamon crunch cereal with complex carbs and B vitamins.
Wheaties Fuel, prepared to win.
I'm Roger T.
There's a time to be a Southern gentleman.
Detective Watkins.
Ah, shucks. And a time to be a cop.
Turn around, hands on top of your head.
Have mercy.
TNT Tuesdays. A new kind of detective has arrived.
Welcome to Memphis.
Memphis Beat. All new Tuesdays at 10 on TNT. We know drama.
Sponsored locally by Heald College. Visit www.trainheald.com for information about career training in the legal field.
In today's cars, there's self-adjusting cylinders, self-activating wipers, even self-deploying spoilers. Why not a self-cleaning engine? Introducing next-generation Pennzoil, which cleans out up to 40% of engine sludge that lesser oils can leave behind. Feel the clean and turn your engine into a self-cleaning engine. Get a Jiffy Lube signature service oil change with Pennzoil at participating locations.
rocks the Glen. It's a season packed with heated rivalries and hot tempers. Expect some sizzling battles on the track. Don't miss the Rolex Sports Car Series live from Watkins Glen tomorrow at 6 p.m. Eastern and only on Speed.
Saw Scott Pruitt a while ago.
I saw Bill Lester in the hotel last night.
See, I guess he's racing in it.
Yep, sure is. Wendy.
Well, Jeff Burton's has had an eventful practice session. We saw him get off the racetrack once. He said his car felt like it was on edge, but it was not a brake thing compared to other drivers we heard to on this side of the garage. Also, another problem is that his car shut off on that last practice run before he came through the garage area. It actually had to come in and switch ignition boxes, and while he was in here and getting that ignition box switched out, Jeff Gordon came over to the window to speak to Jeff Burton, and they talked about that inner loop, the radio communication. They both felt the inner loop is really slick right now. He said he doesn't know if it was oil or it's just really slick, but either way, drivers are complaining about that inner loop. Bob?
Well, Wendy, Marcus Ambrose is complaining about his race car that it's still snappy loose. Now, that was snappy loose on the previous run and this run. What they did to try to cure it last time, Frankie Kerr put in a softer right rear spring. Now, he said he was very snappy on the left-handers, but he was okay on the right-handers. Well, after this last run, Marcos Ambrose basically said, you made the right-handers really push now. And right now it's still snappy loose on the left-handers. And the key question, guys, that Marcus just asked Frankie Kerr as they talk inside the cockpit of the race car right now is this the same tire that I tested on? Frankie Kerr responded by saying it's the same construction and it's one of the several compounds that you like. So that's the answer as far as his tire test here. Right now, Marcus Ambrose still struggling with a snappy loose condition on those left-handers, but it's not exactly the same tire that he tested with, just one of them that he tried.
And Bob, we can see that by the gestures that Marcus is making with his hands.
And it's so hard at a place where you're going left and right to change just one spring on one corner, because you'll do exactly what they just did. You might help one corner but hurt the other. But I couldn't help but snigger a little bit when Wendy was talking about Jeff Burton and Jeff Gordon chatting with each other. Remember, along with Ambrose, that's the two drivers that did the Goodyear tire test. I bet you their conversation also was, do you remember the bus stop being that slick when we were up here testing?
I guarantee you, Larry, if you put him and Marcus Ambrose, all three of those guys together, they would all probably be kind of scratching their heads right now, at least listening to what's going on. And this is not really a surprise. I mean, sometimes when you go back and Goodyear puts their heads together and they construct the tire, they try to put the best of this tire and best from this tire into one tire. You might have a little subtle difference. And again, that's what these drivers are all about. They've got to learn how to adjust.
But Steve, I believe that tire test paid off for Jeff Burton in that 31 car, because right now he's sitting there fourth quickest. We have 46 cars that are here. All 46 cars, they have now been out on the track for practice.
You know, I was thinking about something the other day, guys, and, you know, we used to talk about, it's been 10 years of NASCAR on Fox, we used to talk about road course ringers or aces a lot. Right. I'd say the way it is now, that it's not that big of a topic. I just don't think.
I think the only one that will be a topic, to be quite honest, not the shortcut Ron Fellows in Tommy Baldwin's 36 car, because he is sitting there seventh, and we know how well he runs here. But I think Boris said, as well as he runs here, and with a Cup team that participates every single week in the Red Bull 83 team, he could be a player this weekend.
And Jeff, to get to your point about Boris said, he's locked in the top 35 in points. He's come here a lot of times where he's had to tiptoe around this place in qualifying just to make the show.
we all know.
In the sun shining and he's locked in. Normally when he's not locked in, it's pouring down rain.
Exactly right. But for him, as we take a look at him in his 83 car, I think it brings in the best of both worlds, because this team needs a shot in the arm. They have not had the year they've been looking for. I mean, they lost Brian Vickers. I mean, they've been kind of like searching for their, mojo. You might, mojo, whatever the guiding light is, they just can't find it. I mean, they're lost. This team is lost this season, and maybe Boris getting in this 83 will help kind of get them back on. They've lost their compass, and they'll get back on track like they need to. But like you said, he's got nothing to lose. And he can go out here right now. Don't be surprised if he didn't sit this 83 on the pole and kind of like ruin somebody else's thought process of going to victory lane.
Tell you what, his teammate Scott Speed is 11th right now.
Wednesday, Speed Primetime hits the gas. At 8, it's an all-new Stealth Rider, followed by Paints All Out. Then, Intersections pushes man and machine to the limit. Get your heart racing Wednesday, only on Speed.
We just bought our first home.
But it has some stains on the walls.
That's why we choose Kills Primer.
Painting my new fence. Need to block the wood grain from showing through. I choose Kills Primer.
For covering bold colors, I choose Kills.
I never ask a paint to do a primer's job. Priming first gives me better results with fewer top coats. I choose Kills Primer.
Homeowners and pros know that a little prep goes a long way, especially when you're using the #1 primer in the U.S. Kills. It's the perfect start to a great finish.
On your next business trip, pack your Marriott Rewards Visa card. Get triple points every time you use your card at Marriott. Apply now and earn 22,500 bonus points when you use your card and enjoy a free night's stay. So before you know it, work time becomes well-deserved downtime. Apply now at Marriott.com/free night stay. You've got staying power.
Okay, you know you're gonna need new tires. It's inevitable, right? So why not get them from TireRack.com? With TireRack's online research tools, you'll know you're getting exactly the right tires for you, your car, and the way you drive it, all at a great price. Don't just change your tires, change the way you buy tires. The biggest selection of tires. One more way TireRack is revolutionizing the way you buy tires. TireRack.com. Research, buy, deliver, install.
Tonight, NASCAR challenges the Glen, and we're there as Trevor Bayne, Brendan Gunn, and Steve Wallace stop by NASCAR Trackside. Live coverage from Watkins Glen continues tonight at 7 Eastern with NASCAR Trackside.
Only on Speed.
Denny Hamlin chatting with Mike Ford, some of the other key members of that FedEx Toyota team from Joe Gibbs Racing. Hamlin's second quit to Greg Biffle. Let's go back to Wendy in the garage.
Well, the 11 team's been hard at work during this practice session, much like all the other teams, but Denny Hamlin and Mike Ford are having a very in-depth conversation about that racetrack. You could tell by their hand movements and the way Denny Hamlin is describing the racetrack right now. He said he feels he needs to be a little bit tighter for race conditions, so they are working ahead of the game, and everything is going very smoothly for the 11 team this morning in Watkins Glen.
You know, I was reading some of Denny Hamlin's quotes this week, and he said, you know, we kind of got back on track a little bit at Pocono. We qualified third, we finished fifth, and we progressively made the car better. But he said the biggest thing, we need to win a race or more races before this chase starts. Right now, he has 50 bonus points, just like Jimmy Johnson and the 48 team. So those two guys would be our points leader when the chase starts. But he said we really need to win another race or two.
Denny Hamlin has 4 straight top 10 finishes here at the Glen, including a second-place run 2007 as we watch Brad Keselowski in the 12 car. He just moved up a little bit, 32nd overall in his Dodge.
You realize how many events he's been to here?
You're looking at her.
You're looking at her.
Well, he's actually run the Nationwide Series.
But he's not
this
been
is
in a
his
cup
first
race.
Cup start.
Exactly right. So, you know, for him, we saw him off course a little earlier. You would think that the longer the weekend goes, you would see some improvement out of him because of the fact. I think it's just getting used to the way these cars respond compared to the Nationwide Series cars. It's going to be very different. I mean, it's a different feel. So once he kind of figures it out, I look for him to move up and get a little bit quicker.
And you know, guys, this is one of the teams, and trust me, we have several teams in this same boat. The 19 team with Elliott Sadler is a lot like this team. There's several of them. This team is still looking for their first top 10 finish of 2010. Their best finish is 12th twice in 2010.
He appeared to have a top 10 at Atlanta, but
he appeared to have a top 5 at Atlanta.
Yes, he did. Had being the key phrase until Carl Edwards took exception with him as we watch Mark Martin. And Mark, as we said, a tremendous road racer in his own right.
He's got like 20 starts here at this racetrack and a couple of wins to go along with it.
3 consecutive wins from the pole. He pretty much owned this place driving for Roush Racing back in the mid-late 80s.
Well, 93, 94,
Early
95.
90s, yeah.
Yep.
Hey, and since you mentioned Jack Roush, let's give Jack a shout-out. We understand that he's having some more surgery done today, and I'm sure that he'll be watching later on this weekend. And the good news is, hearing that he may wind up being at Michigan.
Oh, that would be fantastic.
It would be.
It would be great to see him.
but he's in great spirits. And after last week, he's been really pumped up, calling, Greg Biffle and talking to the different members of that organization like Robbie Reiser. But he also had a conversation with Doug Yates, and Doug said his spirits are as high as he could ever remember, even though he's going through some reconstructive surgery right now. Jack will be back at the track for much longer.
And Larry, we were talking about how big that win was. It broke a long dry spell for Greg Biffle. 64 races in between wins. First win for that FR9 motor. A lot of different milestones for Greg Biffle winning at Pocono.
Yeah, and as I was saying, the first win for Roush Fenway since Jamie McMurray won at Talladega. But when you think about wins for Roush Fenway, that's the first win at a non-restrictor plate track since Matt Kenseth won at Auto Club Speedway, the second race of 2009. And that's big for the Blue Oval, because the last time that Ford went more than 17 races into a season without a win was 1977, which was actually a season they had no wins in. So that was huge for everybody across the board.
Great shot right there. Boris Sid getting underneath Mark Martin.
Yeah, he definitely drove right on by Mark, like, out of my way, I'm going to the front here. But I want to go back to the FR9 situation. Just remember now, Steve, this weekend, anybody wants to know, there are no FR9s at this racetrack. They're running the old 4 engine because the snouts on the road course cars, as well as the cars they race at Bristol, will not adapt to this new engine. So they're going to stick with the old engine here this weekend. In a couple weeks when we go to Bristol, they'll run the old engine there also.
Jeff brings up a great point. It's not just pop the old engine out and pop the FR9 in. It's the way the motor's mounted, its exhaust system, it's the wiring. Everything about it is totally different.
You have to rebuild your cars, totally, and they elected to kind of like say, okay, just for 3 races or 4 races a year, we're going to leave it like it is. We'll be fine. The old engine will perform adequately here. So all the Fords right now back to the old school.
Let's go to Bob Dillner.
Steve, heard you guys talking about Jack Roush, and obviously everybody is hoping he gets back to the track soon. Greg Biffle just climbed in this number 16 car, and Jack actually got a special visitor yesterday. Greg Biffle went up there and saw Jack and talked to him for a while, and actually brought a present for Jack Roush as well. He brought the winning trophy from Pocono, and I understand Jack was very happy to have that hardware in his room.
Like DW
better
says,
than flowers.
Good medicine.
Better than flowers.
Greg Biffle continues to have set the quickest lap here at Watkins Glen. Stay with us here on Speed for more practice.
Extreme temperatures, hot, fiery battles, and heated tempers.
I just drove me off the road, so I paid it back.
The Rolex Sports Car Series, live from Watkins Glen, Saturday at 6 p.m. Eastern, only on Speed.
The energy drink for your feet. ZigTech. I get more train, less pain.
Introducing the Wall Lithium-Ion Groomer, the world's first groomer with the power of a lithium-ion battery. With up to 3 times the runtime, up to twice the power, and a 1-minute quick charge. With its interchangeable heads, you have the power to trim, shave, and detail even the toughest beards. The Wall Lithium-Ion Groomer. It's positively better.
Juicy Johnsonville sausage, made with only premium cuts of pork since 1945. Johnsonville, sausage is all we do.
Leaving it all on the field is not the same as leaving it all on the wall.
Tomorrow, the world's toughest trucks clash on the concrete in Music City. Championship contenders will look to make a move, or they might get left in the dust. Don't miss the NASCAR Camping World Truck Series live from Nashville tomorrow at 8:30 Eastern, only on Speed.
Tell you what, Kevin Harvick Incorporated, they are on fire. They've won 3 consecutive races with 3 different drivers.
Well, we told you Tony Stewart, what a great record he has here at Watkins Glen. He's got 5 wins in the last 8 races.
You know, just his road course stats in general are really hard to believe. 23 road course starts, 11 top 2 finishes, 17 top 10s, and he has completed 100% of the laps at those 23 road course races.
That's a nugget.
That's unbelievable.
That's an amazing stat.
When you figure out how easy it is to get in trouble at a road course.
You have to be very disciplined.
Turn 1, that used to be all kitty litter years ago.
You really have the S's right here.
You really have to play with the throttle here. The hopes would be when you are on brand new tires and you're on a qualifying run, that once you pick up the throttle, that you can run wide open through there.
You know, it strikes me as we take a look at Tony Stewart's road course numbers, how narrow it is at the top of the S's with that Armco on both sides. You better have your position picked out before you get there.
Exactly, and you've got to hope that nobody's up there is turned sideways when you get there either. There's no place to escape. I'm noticing, Larry, that a lot of guys are using this new paved area and the way it's kind of designed a little bit like they do at Infineon, kind of running off and straddling it and getting back on the short chute back over to the start-finish line.
Well, you know it's got more grip because it's brand new asphalt. But the biggest thing is, pointed out, Marcos Ambrose had told me how tall all of those new rumble strips, you see them right there on the exit of turn 7 on the front straightaway.
Did it give you an idea of how tall they actually were?
He said they feel real tall when you hit them. It'll about take the steering wheel out of your hand. You know, when we get to this 90-lap race on Sunday, it's going to be no different than any other road course race we go to. The crew chiefs will try to run the race backwards. You can run about 32 to 34 laps here on a tank of fuel, and that's something you're going to have to find out today because this is the practice sessions where you need to check out your fuel mileage. So the formula probably, if you get to pit road by about lap 56 to 58, but you have to think about 3 attempts at a green-white checkered, then you have made it where you can make it to the end of this 90-lap race.
And this racetrack is big. It's almost 2.5 miles around. So as we watch the 36 car with Ron Fellows from Canada on board, he's from Toronto, how do you factor that in? You talk about fuel mileage, 2.45 miles around with a green-white checkered. That's quite a bit of gas.
It's how big of a gambler do you want to be? Because you want to, in the perfect world, I know it's hard for the fans to understand. In the perfect world, you make your last pit stop under green, and then shortly after that, because a lot of people maybe have not made their pit stop, is the caution comes out. And you've made up all that track position knowing that those guys have to come to pit road. But it's how close from the end do you want to make that last stop? How much are you banking? We won't have no attempts at a green-white checkered. We might go as far as having 3.
Yeah, but the thing is right now, too, Larry, is I think as you look at this road course and the way it's laid out now, we see one of the cars must be around. We see yellow flag being waved in that area. That with the way they've done this repaving, Steve, guys get in trouble. It won't be like it used to be where we got to throw a full course caution. Right now, we got debris on the racetrack. That's the reason for the red flag.
Got about
different ways of strategizing this race.
Yep, we got about 48 minutes of practice left. We'll be right back.
Tonight, NASCAR challenges the Glen, and we're there as Trevor Bayne, Brendan Gunn, and Steve Wallace stop by NASCAR Trackside. Live coverage from Watkins Glen continues tonight at 7 Eastern with NASCAR Trackside.
Only on Speed.
Granola nut clusters from Nature Valley. 100% natural nuts and granola in bite-sized clusters. It's a little bit of nature, a little bit better. And nature approves. Granola nut clusters from Nature Valley.
precision handling, high-performance braking, smooth and comfortable ride. Tame the road, hand-cooked tires.
When I brush?
There's a time to be a Southern gentleman.
Detective Watkins.
Ah, shucks. And a time to be a cop.
Turn around. Hands on top of your head.
Have mercy. TNT Tuesdays. A new kind of detective has arrived.
Welcome to Memphis.
Memphis Beat. All new Tuesdays at 10 on TNT. We know drama.
Sponsored locally by Heald College. Visit www.trainheald.com for information about career training in the legal field.
Xfinity presents the best way to view your favorite Dora adventures whenever you want. Catch the sneak peek of Dora's Big Birthday Adventure before it airs on Nickelodeon. You can watch Dora episodes, bonus clips, and more for the first time on demand. Yay! Dora's Big Birthday Adventure premieres Sunday, August 15th at 8 p.m. only on Nick. You can find your favorite Dora shows available on your TV and now online at Xfinity.com/TV. Watch anytime with Xfinity from Comcast.
Look at what's happening now inside the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series. For more NASCAR stats, in-car audio, and live race radio, check out NASCAR Sprint Cup Mobile at sprint.com/speed. Back at the Watkins Glen Speedway.
Our points leader Kevin Harvick's car in the garage area. Like Jeff pointed out, a brand new race car untested for that 29 group. They run a total of 8 laps and they're 10th quickest.
Sam Hornish Jr. in the Mobil 1 Dodge for Penske.
25th quickest at the moment.
Talked to Travis Geisler this morning, his crew chief, and I said, you know, you talk to most people in the garage area, they probably almost wish we only went to Pocono once a year. You probably wish we raced there about 4 times because Pocono's been a great racetrack for Sam Hornish and Travis over the last 2 seasons. Finished 11th there, both races this year.
Greg Biffle still the quickest. He did that on his 10th lap of practice, 15 in all for the 16 car.
Just kind of taking a gander maybe who's run the most laps, and it looks like Boris Seddon at 83 car has run a total of 19 laps in this practice session. You know, we talk about qualifying every week, and if you believe the numbers, we've raced here 27 times. 11 times out of those 27, the race has been won from the front row, and 9 times, which is basically a third of the races, has been won from the pole. So the moral of the story is we talk about qualifying and race setup each week. A road course is one of those places probably where the difference between for qualifying and race setup is not that much. And if you're fast qualifying, you can normally stay fast for the race.
Yeah, biggest thing is just making sure you got the shocks like you want them, where you can tape the car up, because you're not going to tape anything much more than just the brake ducts all the way open, because this racetrack's so long. You got to be careful not to overheat the engine of this thing. You just got to be careful about that, but a lot of changes as far as practice to qualifying.
Dale Earnhardt Jr., his best finish here in 10 starts is 3rd. 33rd quickest overall, Bob Dillner. He's working his 9th lap of practice.
Yeah, not happy at all with that race car around this road course, but they did have a big scare, almost have a big scare just a minute ago here in the garage area. The car would not start for Dale Earnhardt Jr., and they finally found out when he threw his steering wheel up on the dashboard, it hit the switch for the ignition boxes to go to the B box. Well, there's no B box in there today here at Watkins Glen, so they finally figured that out. A breath of relief for Dale Earnhardt Jr., but not as far as the handling characteristics on this race car. Started out tight, got real loose, still can't figure it out as far as rear end grip. In fact, Dale Earnhardt Jr. said, it feels like we got a big old ball joint in that left front. Just cannot get that left front to work around this race course.
Now, what Bob just talked about, it just spins right off of what Jeff and I were just talking about, qualifying the race setup. Like Bob mentioned, right now the car only has 1 ignition box in it. I can promise you probably when this car goes to the starting grid on Sunday, there will be 2 ignition boxes in.
Trouble for Brad Keselowski.
2 strikes.
Yeah, in the same location. I think we'll take a look at it here. Going into the inner loop, you can see he gets loose. And I tell you what, if there's anybody that is glad there's asphalt over there, it's Brad Keselowski in that 12 car. But back to the 88 car of Dale Earnhardt Jr., if there's a place that is so important to keep the center of gravity down as low as you possibly can, it's important everywhere, but more so at a road course because you're transitioning left to right. Most of these teams will have just enough parts and pieces on the car to qualify because they can put more lead in the frame rail, which is down low. But when you get ready to race on Sunday, obviously you're going to put a lot of the things in there that you need for this 90-lap race.
Juan Pablo Montoya, third fastest. He's the quickest of all Chevrolets.
A lot of people talking about the relationship between Brian Patty and Juan Pablo Montoya after last weekend. A heated exchange during the course of the race at Pocono. They've had some tough weeks the last couple.
They really have, and we've said it all year long, Jeff. They've got a fast race car week in and week out. Just like last week at Pocono, they sat on the outside of the front row. But you know, one of the biggest, when I look at the comparison between their 2009 season, 2010 season, there's a lot of things that are very similar. They actually have more top fives after 21 races this year than last year. But how about this number? 7 DNFs after 21 races. Basically a third of the races this year, they did not finish the race versus 0 a year ago.
And Steve, when you go back and you think about where could their season have gone wrong, it could have been as simple as, I think, was it Phoenix? It was early in the season whenever Jamie McMurray, their teammate, and them got together and they wrecked both cars. And it seemed like
Vegas, wasn't it?
It might have been Vegas. It was early in the season, but it seemed like from that point on, it's been like hit or miss for this group, and their luck factor has just not really been there. And again, Larry's already pointed out the DNFs. When you look at 2009, 0 DNFs. This year, those 7. You can't make the chase when you're having those kind of numbers.
And Jeff, I saw your comments. You had some pretty strong things to say on Race Hub. You know, when you listen to that radio communication between Brian Patty and Juan Pablo, you think there's absolutely no respect left. I mean, that's what you think. Now, I know it's heat of battle, but how do they put that behind them and move forward?
There isn't but 3 people that can end this deal, and you don't wait to the end of the season. If I'm Chip Ganassi, and I hate even saying if I'm Chip Ganassi, when you look at the success that man has had as a auto racing owner, you put this man and you put Brian Patty in a room, and you don't come out till you sort it out. Guys, I'm spending a lot of money. We've got fast race cars. We've got sponsors.
Every week.
If you two guys can't get on the same song page, we're going to have to make a change somewhere. Y'all make the call.
I'll give you a little good example. Take a page out of Mr. Rick Hendrick's book.
The Milk and Cookies.
Yeah. You sit down, boys. If you're going to act like kids, I'm going to treat you like kids. You know, it's a shame to see the potential that Juan Pablo Montoya and Brian Patty bring to the racetrack every week, but they can't capitalize on it. So they need to have like a little soul searching and try to figure it out. And you hate to always say the crew chiefs are sticking up for one another, but what I heard on the radio to start that was not bad enough for the response that he was given. If you understand where I'm coming from, I just didn't think it was something that could have been handled a little bit differently.
Well, and here's the thing too. Unlike other sports, in racing, we have the opportunity to listen to the competitors, and we hear heat of battle communication. Mm-hmm. I get that, but I'm still saying that I think you have to be accountable on a certain level for what comes out of your mouth.
Absolutely.
I'm going to tell you what, that guy we're looking at right there, standing up there that just looked back our way, Brian Patty, to me, he's one of the smartest minds in that garage area. He's not going to have a hard time finding a job if he finally gets fed up with this mess.
Back to Watkins Glen after this break.
Discover the soul of NASCAR at over 50 NASCAR home tracks across North America. Visit NASCARHometracks.com to find a track near you.
Sideways in the tunnel turn. Elliott Sadler survived the carnage and captured the first trucks race in Pocono. Saturday, the NASCAR Camping World Truck Series muscles into Music City. And we're there for door-to-door, wheel-to-wheel combat on the concrete. The NASCAR Camping World Truck Series, live from Nashville. Saturday at 8:30 Eastern. Presented by Toyota. Only on Speed. Think Labor Day parties are just about firing up the grill? Well, the biggest Labor Day celebration in the USA is about firing up the engines and lighting up the night. Last year, we made history. This year, we make it a tradition. NASCAR Night Racing returns to Atlanta Motor Speedway Labor Day weekend, featuring a pre-race concert by Foreigner. Sunday tickets start at just $39. Kids under 12 free Saturday. Call 1-8779-AMS-TIX or go to atlantamotorspeedway.com.
COPD doesn't just make it hard to breathe. It makes it hard to do a lot of things. And I'm a guy who likes to go exploring, get my hands dirty, and try new things. So I asked my doctor if Spiriva could help me breathe better.
Spiriva is the only once-daily inhaled maintenance treatment for both forms of COPD, which includes chronic bronchitis and emphysema.
Spiriva keeps my airways open to help me breathe better for a full 24 hours. And it's not a steroid.
Spiriva does not replace fast-acting inhalers for sudden symptoms. Stop taking Spiriva and call your doctor right away if your breathing suddenly worsens, your throat or tongue swells, you get hives, have vision changes or eye pain, or have problems passing urine. Tell your doctor if you have glaucoma, problems passing urine, or an enlarged prostate, as these may worsen with Spiriva. Also discuss the medicines you take, even eye drops. Side effects include dry mouth, constipation, and trouble passing urine.
I'm glad I'm taking Spiriva every day, because breathing better is just better.
Ask your doctor if once daily Spiriva is right for you.
Experience Bristol Motor Speedway like never before. Purchase your ticket to the Speed Pit Road Party Zone and receive the same infield access as drivers, owners, and teams to the famed Bristol Night Race. Plus dinner, drinks, and much more. Visit speed.com, keyword promos for more information, and join us at the Speed Pit Road Party Zone at Bristol Motor Speedway. Watching Robbie Gordon in the 7. And speaking of Speed.com, got a report. The Speed.com is reporting that the Auto Club Speedway in Fontana, California is losing their late February date, and that after the Daytona 500 that will go to Phoenix, Arizona.
All right, let's clear that up, though. They're actually losing their fall date. The date where we have been there for the last several years, the second race of the season, is going to just move into March or early April.
Gotcha.
So that date's moving, and they're going to lose the fall date. So now, based on what Speed.com, and something tells me over the next few weeks, watch us on Speed, and when we're not on, go to Speed.com. The question now comes up, okay, if Atlanta's losing the date,
right,
where is that date going? We anticipate at the press conference next week it's going to Kentucky. But now, with Auto Club Speedway losing the date, where is that date going to go? Can you say click your heels together?
Yeah, I think we're getting ready to go back to Kansas.
Dorothy?
We're getting ready to go back to Kansas for a second race. So,
and your little dog.
Did you call me a dog?
No, I didn't say.
You call me Dorothy?
No, I just said click your heels together and let's go to Kansas, man.
Wait, go back to California. I'm confused about California. So we go to the Daytona 500,
right.
Then we go to Phoenix, Arizona.
Go to Phoenix, Arizona.
Right.
So a little realignment right there, and I think that's what's going to go on there.
And the word on the street is August the 18th, which is about 10 or 12 days from now, about a week and a half, that we should have the official NASCAR Sprint Cup Series schedule for 2011.
Larry, you got to let me know. I got to work on travel.
That's Dick Bergman that has to work on travel.
Look, Steve, it's real simple. When we're not on the air getting fed some of this information, just go to Speed TV.
Speed.com.
Speed.com. It's not TV anymore. Speed.com.
Yep. If I know Dick Bergman like I know him, he's going to have to make some flight changes. He already had his flights made for Auto Club Speedway, the second race of the year.
Let's see, how would he say, oh, dear God? What have they done? Steve Burns, what am I going to do?
You know what? With all this said, with all the rumors that we have heard, that I have heard, and all the discussions that I've been a part of and I've heard, trust me, we're going to like the new schedule for 2011 because I like everything that I have heard and everything that I have seen so far.
And why is that? Why do you like it so much, Larry?
Well, I think we're looking at venues that deserves a second race. I think we're maybe looking at venues that they do not have a race, that they deserve a race. And I think we're probably looking at venues that it makes sense that we probably only go to there once. And the other thing I like is they're maybe taking a look at some of the weather trends and making some adjustments for that.
I agree with you, Larry, every bit of that. Right quick, taking a look here at the 56 car, Martin Truex Jr. Talking to those guys a little bit earlier. He's getting ready when he gets done with his practice. He's going to go back to Philadelphia, and he's going to take and throw out the first pitch for the Philly game tonight and take a little batting practice with these
Really?
groups. Yeah, I didn't realize he was in love with the Philadelphia Phillies.
Well, he's a big Philly fan. He loves the Flyers, the Eagles, and the Phillies.
18 quickest in his practice so far. And Bob, what's going on down in the garage area now?
Well, tires are a big concern for the 12 of Brad Keselowski. He is not handling well around this racetrack. And take a look at this right here. You can see the cords on this tire. This is one of the sets of tires that came off of his car right after he spun. They've already been through 2 sets of tires. They're on the 3rd set of tire right now. And Brad just told me, I leave my hand in the car and I said, why the spins, dude? He basically said, I can't get a hold of this tire compound. They're really hard, and they're really playing with how I drive this racetrack. So that's the problem for Brad Keselowski and why he keeps on spinning here at Watkins Glen during this practice session. Wendy?
And as we have caution for debris in the S's, Jimmy Johnson's car remains on jack stands here in the garage area. Chad Knaus and the 48 team have been working very quickly on this car to try and make some adjustments because Jimmy Johnson says the car is lazy in turns 2 and 6. It's still loose in the direction, but it's getting there closer to what they want. They are making a spring change. So you see some springs laying on the ground. They're going to put those in right now. Jimmy Johnson is P22. The problem he's been feeling has been the rear bar. He said it was something in that area that was doing something that made it a little bit off. So they've worked in the rear of the car as well.
I tell you what, Wendy, so far, I know it's early, but the Hendrick Motorsports car is not making a lot of noise. Jimmy Johnson's 22nd, Jeff Gordon's 23rd, Mark Martin's 32nd, and Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s 36th.
Under caution here at Watkins Glen International. Stay with us here on Speed. Greg Biffle still the quickest.
Tonight, NASCAR challenges the Glen, and we're there as Trevor Bayne, Brendan Gunn, and Steve Wallace stop by NASCAR Trackside. Live coverage from Watkins Glen continues tonight at 7 Eastern with NASCAR Trackside.
Only on Speed.
Opulence. I has it. I like the best. This one. But I also like savings the money. So when DirecTV tell me 5 months free for most premium televisions package, I jump in it.
Forget cable. Switch to DirecTV and get 5 months free. Call 1-800-DirecTV.
Feels good to get out of the city.
I gotta tell you, there's something beautiful about...
I can't believe it.
You might not believe that, but you'll believe this.
Gillette's new Fusion Pro Glide. It's got less tug and pull. Okay. Hey, big guy, why don't you get back over here and let me take the rest of your pine cones?
What's his problem?
Excuse me. Thank you.
Go to YouTube and see where the Young Guns show up next.
You want to go back to the city?
Yeah, let's go.
You can buy Royal Purple for increased horsepower, superior protection, and fewer oil changes come at no additional charge. Royal Purple is available at quality oil change centers and auto parts stores nationwide. Find one near you at royalpurple.com.
Since I've been doing roller derby for the last 3 years, I'm more confident, and I love this.
To keep doing what you love, keep your heart healthy. Cheerios can help. The whole grain oats can help lower cholesterol. It's simple. Love your heart so you can do what you love. What do you love?
26 car being driven this weekend by Patrick Carpentier, one of our all-time favorite trackside guests.
Not Carpenter.
Carpentier. There you go. I got that down pat a couple years ago.
Crushed Carpentier. He nailed it.
But you know what? I'm glad for this 2016 Frankie Stoddard, Bill Jenkins, and those boys over there. 21st fastest. They've run a total of 17 laps. Think about it. This team has missed the last 2 races. They missed the Brickyard at Indy, and they missed Pocono last week. They need a shot in the arm. We mentioned earlier, 46 cars here, 3 cars will go home. Right now, the 3 slowest go homers would be Tony Ave in the 35 car, P.J. Jones in the 07, and J.J. Yaley in the 46 car. That's the 3 slowest in this practice session.
Jeff pointed out during commercial, atop the leaderboard, we have Ford, Toyota, Chevrolet, and Dodge, represented by Greg Biffle, Denny Hamlin, Jeff Burton, and Kurt Busch.
You know, and Steve, when we go back, you mentioned earlier that at one time we talked about the road course ringers like Carpentier coming into our sport. Here is where those road course ringers can make a difference, getting cars that would be basically outside, the top 35, getting them inside the top 35. Because when you take a look at what Carpentier is going to attempt to be able to do, Max Pappas, he's a great road racer. These is kind of Tony Avi. He's in that 35 car because of his specialties on the road courses. That's where a road course ringer can maybe benefit a team. If you're on the edge or need somebody who's not quite as good at a place like Watkins Glen or Infineon, you can bring those boys in, and they can make a difference.
Tell you what, Paul Menard pretty quick right now, 7th quickest in this 98. He's run a total of 14 laps. Pretty impressed with what Slugger Labby did on that last pit stop last week with roughly 20 laps to go. They had tried just right side tires a couple of times, and he said their car was absolutely junk. You know what he did, Jeff, on the last stop?
Left sides?
Left sides only, and ended up finishing 13th, the best they've been all day long.
It works every now and then.
Let's go back to Bob Dillner.
Well, Steve, Mark Martin right now, 32nd quick actually on the timing chart, but he likes his race car. He said the only problem that he's having is around the bus stop. He's having trouble getting it around there, but he said really through the S's, they are dynamite. Mark Martin really hoping to get in the chase. He has finishes of 15th, 11th, and 7th in the last 3 races, working in the right direction. And he told me he's driving the next 6 races like he is 13th in the standings, no matter where he is. And that's exactly where he sits right now, Wendy.
Kurt Busch is having a pretty successful practice session, 5th right now as he makes his way back out on the racetrack for these final laps before we shut down this first practice. He's been loose this whole entire practice, though. Crew Chief Steve Addington has made some minor adjustments. He felt that it was a little abrupt on the splitter. He was concerned about the bump stop package that they had at the beginning of the practice. He's been a little loose turning in, loose overall actually, and he feels like they haven't optimized their brake pads, so we're going to try another set of brake pads possibly later on in this weekend, but right now Kurt Busch, it's just been minor adjustments in this practice session. He's P4.
You have so many options with your brake packages here. There's a lot of different compound of brake pads. I know Performance Friction, they make a lot of different alternatives as far as pads. You can put a little more grip in, a little more grip out. You can even run a little different. Normally you'll run maybe even a grippier pad in the front possibly than the rear.
Yeah, and all that right there, you're trying to get the car to sit flat. So the car, settles with the rear and the front kind of compressing together. You get too much front brake, a lot of times it has a tendency to make the back end feel a little bit light. And if you put too much rear, it definitely makes the car too free getting in the corner. So brake packages and getting that brake bias is a key to going fast at a place, especially like Watkins Glen, where the speeds are so much up more than even what they are at Infineon.
Yeah, Steve, the real thing you fight at a road course is normally the car not turning on initial entrance. Like right here, under braking, the car will tend to sometimes not want to turn there. So what these drivers will do, and what the crew chiefs will do, maybe with different compounds of brake pad, is put just as much rear brake into it as you possibly can. But you've got to be careful because too much rear brake, especially on those high-speed entrances like turn 1, will get the car doing what we call wheel hopping in the back and get you in big trouble.
Just looking at timing and scoring, Paul Menard is up to 3rd, Juan Pablo Montoya up to 6th, and Marcus Ambrose has hopped up to 7th.
We may be seeing a few practice qualifying runs in the later stages of this practice session because this is honestly probably close to the time of day we might be having qualifying
Exactly.
tomorrow.
I was going to say that. That's track temperature and everything. And by this time, we talked about it, the Rolex Series being on the racetrack earlier this morning, gave the teams enough time to kind of like get the rubber erased off those cars are transplanted on this track. Now they got an opportunity to see exactly what the grip level is, put on a fresh set of tires, and see if they can improve their speed. We're taking a look right now at Mark Martin, and you can tell he is clearly on a qualifying run. You see the tape in the lower valence area, so we'll see how quick Mark Martin is.
Look at the difference. We saw Montoya a while ago in the 42 car. Look at the difference 2009, 2010. The two things that jumps out at me, of course, is the wins, but look at the laps led. 438 after 21 races versus 57 after 21 this year.
P.J. Jones.
Yeah, that brings out caution. He has stopped on the track in the 07 car.
You can find a lot of places to stop. That's not a good one right there, though. This is a second car for Robbie Gordon Motorsports, and I thought it interesting as to why, and as I mentioned a while ago, PJ's going to have to step it up if he wants to be in this show. But Robbie wanted to bring this second car up here. We talked about him putting a full court press for his 7 car, simply just to try to gain more information that they can transfer over to the 7 car.
Got less than 20 minutes left in this practice. We'll step aside and be right back to Watkins Glen.
Are you boxers, are you briefs, or something in between? Do you dream in heather gray, or a place where trunks are mostly bluish green, with a waistband softer than the rain? Well, I don't care what you want to wear down there. Start your engine.
On your next business trip, pack your Marriott Rewards Visa card. Get triple points every time you use your card at Marriott. Apply now and earn 22,500 bonus points when you use your card and enjoy a free night's stay. So before you know it, work time becomes well-deserved downtime. Apply now at Marriott.com/free night stay. You've got staying power.
Welcome to the show. Fiberglass Boomtown, Mecca for the V8 faithful. Pilgrims, diehards, gearheads, zealots, a multitude of fans bound together by a ribbon of asphalt. Celebrating as one the triumph of speed and the escape from everything routine. If you've never been, check your expectations at the gate. Everything else is just a game. The NASCAR experience live. Everything else is just a game.
P.J. Jones, a 07 Toyota being pushed back to the garage. That's why we're under caution.
Now, Bob Dillner was just telling us at break that the team has no idea. It just shut off going up through the S's.
Very fortunate to have those corner workers, and we saw that blue and yellow flag waving, letting people know that there was a problem up there through the S's. And that's one of the good things about having these corner workers. Some of the blind areas, they can give these drivers some advance notice. You see now we're under a full course yellow. That's one of the corner workers we're talking about, strategically located around the racetrack to let these guys know what kind of information, whether it might be an oil problem or a car stopped. Otherwise, somebody may have run all over him sitting down there in the S's.
You know, Steve, we were showing the graphic of Mark Martin a while ago, and, of course, the big difference from 2009 to 2010, 4 wins at this point a year ago and no wins now. As we look at the 4 Hendrick cars, we talked about them a little while ago, not real high up the practice chart. But when you think about it, with 15 races to go in 2010, we've got 7 guys that won races last year that's not been to victory lane in 2010. And you look at them, 3 of them are past champions. You've got Tony Stewart, you've got Jeff Gordon, Mark Martin, Casey Kane, Joey Logano, Brad Keselowski, Matt Kenseth. All those guys won races last year, but they've not been to victory lane this year.
Wendy, what's going on with Jeff Gordon?
Well, they've thrown everything at the 24 car, and right now he says they were ridiculously loose. So Jeff Gordon not happy right now. You see Scott Pruitt on the hauler with Steve Letarte right now. Scott Pruitt was supposed to get in the car this practice session, but as we get down to the final 15 minutes of practice, it doesn't look like he's going to be getting in anytime soon. We could be waiting till a little bit later on in this next practice session. Right now, Jeff Gordon is P25. Bob?
Well, right now, Robbie Gordon sits in his race car, and he is P28 on the board, 28th fastest, but that is in race trim. Robbie Gordon said he went testing last week at Road Atlanta to try to come here and win a race. The problem is when they showed up here, the car, as soon as it hit the racetrack, really, really tight. So they're trying to figure through some things right now. But Robbie believes as soon as they go into Q trim qualifying mode, they'll be a lot faster. However, it's Sunday that he wants to be in victory lane here at Watkins Glen, a place he's won before.
There's a look at the list of drivers who won in 2009, as Larry said, who are winless in 2010.
I got a question for you. Why didn't you just ask Mark to put that up and you would have gone through that list, prior?
Well, I could have done that, but the one thing that catches my eye is when you look at those top 3 guys, I think I've got my numbers right by saying they represent 13 wins here, 12 or 13 wins at Watkins Glen. That guy right there, Mark Martin, has 3 wins. The biggest reason I can tell you, simple, I'm a lot smarter than our producer, Mark Smith.
Oh, wow.
Now just remember now, that's on tape. That could come back to haunt you. Because he does have that switch there and it turns you on and off.
You know what? I don't think, all kidding aside, we do not give Mark Smith near enough credit. We are basically sitting right on top of about 325 trackside shows, and Mark Smith has produced each and every one of those trackside shows. He's done an excellent job. He
did miss 2, though. He did miss 2. But other than that, it's been his leadership that's gotten us through all these years, along with Mr. Steve Burns.
And just a little confirmation, those top 3 guys, Stuart Gordon and this guy, Mark Martin, 12 wins at Watkins Glen combined.
Again, Mark's qualifying attempt a minute ago was abbreviated, so it'll be interesting to see what he does now.
Mark Martin had 4 wins at this point last year.
He's run a total of 14 laps. In fact, his last lap was his fastest lap at 1:13.64. Let's see what he does on this lap here.
A little less than 10 minutes remaining in this NASCAR Sprint Cup Series practice from the road course in Watkins Glen.
Riding along with Mark now up through the S's.
Yeah, this actually started a lap.
Yeah, and Larry, you were talking about, I was trying to listen if he was able to flat-foot it, up through the S's, or he was having to play with the throttle now back out on the back straightaway in the 4th gear, coming down in the bus stop.
We were talking about compromising between left turns and right turns. I couldn't help but notice the left front of Mark Martin's car, how much negative camber that left front tire had, how much it's leaned in at the top, which really helps the car turn through the right-hand corners. But, of course, it also can kind of counter when you're turning back the other direction. And you can see just that shot right there, how much that left front is leaned in.
I'll tell you what's impressing me right now is Joey Logano is keeping pace with this 5 car, and he trying to, make a quick lap also. Joey currently 29th quickest on the speed chart.
Mark picks up to 27th. Joey Logano up to 14th.
Yeah, Joey bettered Mark. He ran quite a bit quicker than Mark did. Yeah, Joey ran a 1:12.76 in that 20 car.
We'll be back to the road course in Watkins Glen, New York. Stay with us here on Speed.
Gearheads, wake up weekend mornings to the Castrol engine block on Speed. Customs, restorations, innovations. The Castrol engine block. Saturday and Sunday mornings beginning at 7 a.m. Eastern. Only on Speed.
Do you want some Fiber One honey clusters?
Yeah. You must really care about him.
What? No.
You gave him fiber.
No, she didn't. This tastes way too good to be fiber.
They're delicious, crunchy clusters with sweet honey and half a day's worth of fiber.
You care about my fiber?
Not really.
I care about your fiber, too. I have for a while.
Okay, Carl, why do you care about her fiber? Hey, Carl.
Fiber One. Cardboard no. Delicious yes.
Sometimes we like to practice a bit before we go shopping.
How can I help you, sir?
I want the lowest price, then go lower.
I don't have that kind of authority!
Plus free delivery, even on Sunday.
Unheard of!
We're ready.
Fortunately, we have the lowest prices around, so there's no need to rehearse.
And Lowe's has free next day delivery on appliances. Andy actually turned out to be really helpful and nice.
Experience. Lowe's. Let's build something together. Come to Lowe's and get 10% off Energy Star major appliances.
I'm on to what?
I thought I had a pretty sweet deal. Relax, get a tan, maybe write the occasional traffic ticket. Oh, it's still pretty sunny. That just makes the body smell worse.
The Glades, a new original drama. Sundays at 10 on A&E.
Sponsored locally by Wyotech. Visit www.wyotechinfo.com for information about career training in the electrical, automotive, and plumbing fields.
It's time for us to show our appreciation. It's the Comcast Sportsnet Authentic Post-Game Barbecue. Drop by our downtown San Francisco studios after the Giants-Cubs game for a broadcast of Giants Post-Game Live, followed by Chronicle Live and Sportsnet Central. Meet and mingle with Kruk and Kipe, top Bay Area athletes, and our Comcast Sportsnet talent. Plus, free Kinder's Barbecue, free studio tours, giveaways, and much more. The Comcast Sportsnet Authentic Post-Game Barbecue, Thursday, August 12th. For more info, visit csmbayarea.com.
Glen International practice winding down. 1 hour and 50 minutes in total as we watch Jeff Gordon.
Now, Jeff Gordon is the track record holder. He did it way back in 2003, ran a minute 10:79. I think that track record will be safe when they qualify tomorrow.
Larry, we mentioned that Tony Stewart had won 5 of the last 8 races here at the Glen. But we said Gordon a 4-time winner, but Jeff hasn't won here since 2001.
Yeah, he swept the road course races here in Infineon 2 years back-to-back. In fact, that would have been 4 consecutive road course wins in 98 and 99.
Right now you saw Jeff Gordon go around Travis Quapple in the 37 car.
In fact, I was just looking at the numbers on Jeff Gordon. He has not had a top 5 finish since that win here in 2001.
Well, in the hard crash that he was involved in a year ago with Sam Hornish in the 77, Jeff Burton in the 31, honestly, that was one of the crashes that led to a lot of the changes and improvements here at Watkins Glen.
That was a violent wreck.
Take a look. This was a year ago, late in the race, coming out of turn 5. You can see Sam Hornish in the 77 got into the tire barrier and bounced across the racetrack. And I'm telling you, when that 24 car hit him, he was all but wide open. And you see Jeff Burton got involved as well. Whew. And they have definitely improved this entire area of the racetrack.
That area got him off and got him sideways. I'm talking about Sam Hornish has now been paved, so hopefully that'll prevent that from happening like that any this weekend in all the divisions. And we're racing here this weekend from the Rolex to the Nationwide Series, the Sprint Cup race on Sunday. I mean, a lot of the crew chiefs are telling me they think they're going to see less caution, so they're kind of like planning their strategy because there is less area for these cars to get stuck in. We've already seen 5 times over the bus stops where we'd had to throw cautions and probably put the red flag out to pull cars out of that kiddie litter or sand pit that was there a year ago. Now guys are able to spin out, turn around, go to the garage area like the 12 car and get another set of tires and keep on digging.
See Martin Truex Jr. in that 56 car keeping pace with Jeff Gordon. Right now Martin has run a total of 21 laps and he's 19th quickest. You know, Jeff, you brought up a point early in the practice, and I think it has come to fruition. We have not seen, as sure as I say this, we'll probably see somebody, but in the last, say, 20 to 30 minutes, we've not seen anyone get in trouble. Murphy's Law.
There he goes.
See Patrick Aparte. But I was going to say, and this is in a different area, but we've not seen the issues over in the inner loop in turn 5 that we saw in the beginning. Another thing, it's really starting to get cloudy, and I think the track is cooling off quite a bit.
You talked about the grip level maybe coming up here. Guys getting a kind of feel for what these new tires need, as well as the drivers getting a little more acclimated. We see the 26 car kind of limping his way back toward the garage area. Just wonder if he's got a problem.
I was going to say, he doesn't look like he's under power.
It doesn't. Watching Kyle Busch here. He's making a pretty good run. Looking out the back rear camera on the 42 car Juan Pablo Montoya, but he was really challenging into that bus stop area in that 18 car.
You can hear Montoya going all the way down to second gear, getting into the inner loop. You can hear him grab third gear up the short chute as they head back toward the left-hander, turn 6.
Uh-oh.
That is not a good sign. That is a sign that the engine has maybe let go, but I just think about the 2 or 3 times we've seen this 12 car spin out. Did he spin the engine backwards and cause an issue for this 12 car?
And Larry, he must have a pretty good hole in the bottom of that engine right there. You see all the liquid rolling out of that, streaming out of that engine as it rolled by.
It's one of the risks you run at a road course when you spin out of turning the engine backward or just simply over-revving the engine.
Caution is out, and I wonder if this might do it for practice. Just a couple of minutes left in this 1 hour, 50-minute practice.
Well, Steve, it all depends on where this occurred at and how long it's going to take for him to clean it up. Because fortunately, he was able to get it off the course. It's going down into turn 1 is where the problem is. As the safety workers, check on the 12 car of Brad Keselowski.
So I think this practice is over. So we do know that Brad Keselowski's first Sprint Cup start at Watkins Glen will be from the tail end of the field.
We'll come back and wrap things up right after this here on Speed.
The energy boost for your feet. With ZigTech, I get more train, less pain.
TireRack.com is more than just an online tire resource. We're your one-stop online tire know-how, know-who, and know-what. With TireRack's online research tools, you'll know you're getting exactly the right tires for you, your car, and the way you drive it. Speaking of that, know what else? Our prices are practically unbeatable. And that's all you need to know. Buy your next tires at Tire Rack and experience how we're revolutionizing the way you buy tires. TireRack.com. Research, buy, deliver, install.
Just bought our first home.
But it has some stains on the walls.
That's why we choose Kills Primer.
Painting my new fence. Need to block the wood grain from showing through. I choose Kills Primer.
For covering bold colors, I choose Kills.
I never ask a paint to do a primer's job. Priming first gives me better results with fewer top coats. I choose Kills Primer.
Homeowners and pros know that a little prep goes a long way, especially when you're using the #1 primer in the U.S. Kills. It's the perfect start to a great finish. Finding free NASCAR merchandise and gear just got easier. Just enter your official NASCAR hologram code at NASCAR.com/hologram for a chance to score free gear and great offers, or a VIP experience that puts you right next to the action.
This copyrighted telecast may not be reproduced, retransmitted, or used in any form without the authorized written consent of NASCAR Broadcasting. NASCAR would like to thank all of our loyal fans for your continued support, and we hope you enjoyed today's broadcast.
1 hour, 50-minute practice in the books. A look at Brad Keselowski as he comes to the start-finish line up in smoke.
I was looking, Brad has run a total of 17 laps, 37th quickest, but as we well documented, down in the inner loop, he had been looping around a couple of times.
Back to the garage and Wendy.
Tony Stewart ends this practice session P22 as he speaks to Darian Grubb, his crew chief. He had 3 words at the end of that practice session: way out of balance. So Darian Grubb has called the cars to go up on scales and make sure everything's right on this race car. They have a slight break before we practice again later on in the afternoon at 4 o'clock. We have about an hour and 20-minute practice session. Keep in mind, no practice tomorrow, just qualifying. Bob?
Greg Biffle winds up on top of the charts here, and not too shabby the last 2 weeks for you with the big win at Pocono and then your fastest here. I'd assume the car is really good, no?
Yeah, the car's really good. Just working on drivability on the long runs is
really what we've been working on. The car's got great one-lap speed, and it's got pretty good multi-lap speed. We're just working on comfort and brakes and keeping the driver from breaking anything right now.
Pretty cool that you were able to give the trophy, and Jack has the trophy in his room right now. I know you didn't get to spend much time with him, but at the same time, it's got to feel good for you.
Yeah, it does. That feels good. I left him a note. I told him if he doesn't get out soon, I'm going to bring him another one. So hopefully we'll make that true.
All right, Greg Biffle, very happy with his race car, but still trying to search for things on the long haul, guys.
29 laps for Greg Biffle, Bob, his quickest on lap 10.
You know, we were just talking at commercial break. We have an interesting list of drivers in our top 10. There's only one road course win represented in the top 10, and that would be Juan Pablo Montoya, the 42 car who won at Infineon. But there's a lot of guys we don't necessarily maybe expect to see up there.
A.J. Allmendinger, 8th. Paul Menard, 3rd. Ron Fellows, 9. Fellows has 7 wins altogether here in Nationwide Series, Camping World Trucks, and the East Series as well.
He's good here at Watkins Glen. Well, I know if I was Tommy Baldwin, I'd be happy to have him behind my wheel of my race car.
I hope you enjoyed practice for the Watkins Glen International. We certainly enjoyed bringing it to you. Glad you spent part of your afternoon with us here on Speed.